Good evening. The opinions and statements voiced by our guests do not necessarily reflect the opinions of this network. Enjoy the shows.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk only on Paranormal Experience Radio. Broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
We've been expecting you.
Monday, time for our maven of the supernatural, Denise Pridemore. This is the Paranormal Pride. Join to listen and chat live on WBHM-DB.com or Spreaker app. Search WBHM-DB every Monday at 7 p.m. Central for your supernatural paranormal fix. Welcome to the Paranormal Pride, where the show is about the guest and the listener.
Welcome to the Paranormal Pride. I'm your host, Denise Pridemore. My guest tonight is Alex Matsuo. She is returning, I'm thinking I had her on when the Paranormal Pride first started, probably around my 10th or 12th show, way back when. And some of you know this, but I quote stuff from Alex's book all the time. And because it sticks in my head, and I've also given her book. I won one from her, and so the other one I gave away to a brand new paranormal investigator a long time ago to keep them from making the same mistakes that a lot of people make. So I want to introduce you guys all to Alex Matsuo. Welcome, Alex.
Hey, Denise, how are you?
I am wonderful. I want to hear all about all the things you've been doing, but the what I quote from you all the time is that how you hate when a paranormal team goes into a location and tells somebody that a demon's there and you have to spend all your time proving that there's not a demon there.
Yep.
And I quote that a lot, and it irritates the life out of me when someone says something's there and there's nothing, and there's not something there, regardless of if it's a demon, regardless of if it's a spirit, because sometimes there's not even a spirit there. And somebody says, "Oh, you've got an entity here, and it's this," and you're going, "Okay, now what do you got here?" Because I'm not finding anything. So I don't know about you, but I know that you've had the incident with the demon because you wrote about it. And let's see, what was the name of that book? I know I quote it all the time, but I can never remember the name of it.
More Than Ghosts. It's a guide to working residential cases in the paranormal.
Right. But I always give you credit. I always say Alex Matsuo says this all.
That's awesome. Thank you.
So you come up probably about 10 shows a year at least, or in just talking to people, your name comes up every once in a while when that happens, because of the fact that it is an irritating fact of the paranormal that teams will say this, and they say it in passing like it's nothing.
Yep.
And so you got me thinking on that, and making sure that I tell people that up front so that they don't go out and start saying that just automatically, "Oh, it's a demon." No, it's not. Demons are rare. At least from what I understand and from what I've witnessed, demons are rare.
Yep, they are.
So last year when I was sick, we were talking, off the air, that tomorrow or Wednesday is a year from when I had my biopsy. So last year around this time, you were on TV in October for most terrifying places in America.
Yes, I was.
And I didn't know that you were on there until I saw it. And I was like, oh my. Well, because, I was that sick. I mean, fentanyl and all the other stuff they had me on. I didn't really care about a whole lot of stuff. Let's be honest. I was in a lot of pain and didn't feel very good for quite a while. And I didn't really look at Facebook much. So I didn't know that you had been on there. But the minute I saw you, I knew, hey, that's Alex. What in the heck? And so will you tell everybody, why were you on Most Terrifying Places in America?
Yeah, sure. So me and my team, we had gone to the Old South Pittsburgh Hospital, I want to say at this point, like 5-ish years ago. And we had also, gone around South Pittsburgh, and we had heard about, other places that were haunted in the town besides the hospital. And we ran across this local legend, really, in the heart of, well, I say downtown South Pittsburgh, but we're not talking like a downtown like New York City. We're talking like the street with all the stores in South Pittsburgh, because it's a very small town. And we had heard about this shootout that had happened on Christmas back in the early 20s. And so like the bullet holes were still in the sides of the building. I mean, it was almost like flashback to Gettysburg type of thing. And the fascinating thing about this was it was police versus police, with this shootout. I mean, to really condense the history behind it, it was a union dispute. It was a labor dispute between like the union and this factory owner. And one thing led to another, and it resulted in these cops shooting each other, because half of the squad was on the factory side, the other half of the squad was on the union side. So a few people died, cops died. There were many injured, because this was a shootout in the middle of Christmas, right after the Christmas Eve service had gotten out of the church, and people were still shopping last minute for their Christmas gifts, because this was downtown where all the stores were at. So a lot of energy pent up in this area. So we had a chance to do a very brief investigation there, because we talked sweet with the owner, and he was like, yeah, come up and check it out. And so we were in this corner building where the shootout happened, and we honestly didn't really think anything of it. We did have an experience, as we talked about on the show, but after that, I didn't really think anything of it. Then we went on to Old South Pittsburgh Hospital. And we had actually filmed a history video about the hospital. And we actually debunked a few of like the legends that were there. Not really debunked the legends, but, with some of the legends that come up, I always tell people, don't ever take the first result on Google as face value. This is nothing against anyone who owns a haunted location. I know you got to sell tickets, but I also tell people don't take the haunted location's website at face value either. Always try to dig a little deeper, find out where those legends came from. And we found out a lot, actually. We found out that one ghost that supposedly haunted this room at the hospital was actually 2 people. And the name of the ghost was actually based on the 2 women. So we found like some really cool things with that. And and we put the video on YouTube. I mean, this video maybe had like a couple hundred views on it. I mean, it didn't really make big waves on the internet. But a producer from Travel Channel saw it and ended up contacting my historian. And then my historian mentioned, oh, I'm actually on an all-female team. And the producer's like, great, bring them all for the shoot. So and then for those of you who are really involved in like paranormal news and stuff know what happened with this. We were literally on our way to Tennessee. We had just crossed the Tennessee border from North Carolina, and we got the call that Old South Pittsburgh Hospital was shut down because of black mold, and the owner had committed tax evasion. So we weren't getting in there. And so the producers were freaking out about it because, they already had their crew there. Like literally their crew was checked into the hotel. I mean, we're talking like 12 people with equipment, with film equipment, hey, we don't have a location here. So, and then this, we were talking to the producer, and the shootout came about. The shootout came up because they had run into it, and they said, "Hey, what do you know about this?" And we're like, "Hey, we actually investigated this building," and that's how it happened. So, and what was really cool was we got to shine a light on another part of the town that's haunted, besides Old South Pittsburgh Hospital. So, yeah, so that was a cool opportunity.
Well, that's good, because sometimes one place in that area is so overwhelming, it takes over the whole town, and people miss out on some of these other great locations in that town because people are so focused on this one that's been on TV or has gotten all the attention. Then they miss out on these other ones that are probably even more exciting or more haunted. Or are legitimately haunted in the case of some places that I know about.
Yeah. And this one I had we had some really incredible experiences at Old South Pittsburgh Hospital, but what I had seen with the shadow figure and heard with my naked ear, hearing Ben being said, when I said, "Hey, what's your name?" Ben. I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool. Well, all right. We got what we needed. We can go home, guys."
Well, at least you didn't have very far to drive.
Right.
Just across 40 and was the weather good for you when you went? Because I know the weather in that area can be pretty bad in the winter.
For the shoot, for the film shoot, we were there in March. We were there in the spring, and it aired in October, but it was raining.
Oh, okay.
It was raining.
So pretty normal for that time of year.
Yeah. And I can even send you the pictures afterwards. But if you look at our behind the scenes photos, there's umbrellas all over us.
Oh, because I have not been down to Old South Pittsburgh because of the fact that I had heard about the shape that it was in. I knew how bad it used to be, and I had heard all these horror stories, and it's like, I'm not giving anybody my money that's going to tear it up or not take care of it. And under I've heard interview after interview with the new ownership and people raving about how cleaned up it is and how much work has gone into it. So we're looking forward to actually going down and checking out Old South Pittsburgh in the very near future.
Yeah. I haven't been to it since it came under new ownership, but just looking at the photos, like before and after, I'm blown away. Yeah. I'm absolutely blown away.
Well, we're thinking about heading down that way next year to check it out because we're planning on looking at some locations to move, possibly in Tennessee in a few years. But we're also looking in Florida, so it just depends on which one looks better when we go to look.
Florida does get hurricanes, though, so I don't know if that's a factor.
It's not, because of the fact that I worked hurricane relief for Sprint. I worked for Sprint, and you've got at least 5 days notice. It's not a surprise. It's not like here where we get tornadoes and they suddenly pop up and suddenly everything's gone.
Right.
And I wouldn't be looking right on the coast. And I would be making sure my house is on high ground.
Good point.
I have never lived in an area that flooded in my entire life. I've always been smart enough. And I grew up on the East Coast and hurricanes happen. So it's just a matter of, hey, where do we want to be? And we are just looking to make sure that we find the right place for us when the time comes. So, and who knows where that is? But
right.
we know where it's not. we
Good
know
point.
where it's not.
Good point. So
that's part of it, but as we get older, part of this is going to be related to what extracurricular activities are there available in those areas. Like I know where, North Carolina has a lot of extracurricular activities as far as the paranormal goes, as far as distilleries and microbreweries and things like that are concerned, and a lot of history.
Yep.
And so there's a lot of things to do for somebody who's willing to travel and has the time to.
Yep.
So in your area, you've got a lot of things that you can go out and check out. And so what are some of those places? If I was coming to North Carolina for a visit, besides Asheville, which I know has got everything. I mean, just the Biltmore, but you can't take pictures. I mean, what are they going to do? Stop you from taking pictures in your room? I don't know.
You never know.
I don't know. But I have pictures from there from over 30 years ago. I gotta find them, but I gotta, it's actually over probably 40 years ago now, under different management, of course. And, what besides the Biltmore is there? I mean, I know they give ghost tours now. They didn't 40 years ago. So, what else is there?
Ooh, there's a lot. So ironically, there's not much in Raleigh where I am. There's a few places, but one of those places has exclusive rights to another team, which can happen sometimes, and that's totally fine. I guess I can start in Raleigh. In one place in Raleigh, we actually did a news segment there last year with ABC about a restaurant called Shoko. It's a Mexican food restaurant, and it's actually very haunted. Where it's located is known as the Creamery, which used to be a creamery back in the mid to late 20th century, and in that area there was. They called Raleigh's Jack the Ripper. There was a transient homeless man who was murdering women of the night. I don't know if your show's rated, what your show's rating is in terms of age appropriateness. So I'm going to say women of the night.
Perfect.
And one of them was actually found like in the Bay Area where the restaurant sits today. And it's actually quite wild. When we were trying to make contact with a few of the victims, one of them was actually found in several pieces by the railroad tracks right behind the creamery. We actually kept getting screams on our PSB7, which I'm very skeptical of the PSB7 because I think a lot of it you can say, well, that's the radio station, but we were getting on cue screams as responses. And so that one was really disturbing. There was also an employee of the creamery that had died. For some reason, his fellow coworkers stuck him in the freezer to keep him from decomposing until further help could happen. I'm not sure why at the time, because weather wasn't that terrible, I don't think. So there's activity there. Let's see. If you go 2 hours north, maybe more like an hour and a half, 2 hours north, in Hickory, North Carolina, there is we call it District 12, but it's the Henry River Mill Village. And for those of you who are Hunger Games fans, it is where District 12 was filmed. And it's actually very haunted. The houses and the main building from the early 1900s, it's all still there. This mill village made thread and yarn and a few other things. It was completely abandoned by, I want to say, the 70s and 80s. That's got a lot of activity there. About 45 minutes east of there is the Trivet Clinic in Hamptonville, North Carolina. And those of you who follow me on Facebook have probably heard about the Trivet Clinic a lot from me. This was a clinic in this small little rural area in Hamptonville that was started by a doctor whose name was Dr. Trivet, William Amos Trivet. And the clinic was there for several years, and then he died of pneumonia prematurely. And the clinic then turned into you get ready for this. It turned into a supper club in the basement. And then if you go to the first and the second floors, it was an alcohol detox clinic.
Okay, well, this is a good time to stop because we're at break. Everyone, you're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. We'll be back in a few minutes.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk only on Paranormal Experience Radio. Broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... Nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
To the believer, the evidence is overwhelming. To the skeptic, there will never be enough. Hello everyone. Join Kevin and Jennifer Malik, the host of Paraversal Universe, every Friday here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting. Also heard on WCET FM and The Rift. Log on or tune in as they check out the mysteries found within the 8 categories of the unknown and unexplained, including ghosts and haunted places, aliens and UFOs, theology and mythology, cryptids and monsters, urban legends and folklore, conspiracies, metaphysics, and forbidden archaeology. Listen as Kevin and Jennifer interview the top minds in their respective fields as they share theories and information regarding these unsolved mysteries. For future show and archive information, one can find Paraversal Universe on Facebook, Twitter, and MeWe under various Paraversal Universe headings. So, for excellent talk radio about the unknown and unexplained, check out Paraversal Universe, where all paranormal perspectives apply. Brought to you by the Northern Wisconsin Paranormal Society, Ltd., and produced by WBHM-DB.com.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 23 minutes after the hour.
Welcome back to the Paranormal Pride. I'm your host, Denise Pridemore, and my guest tonight is Alex Matsuo. She's a returning guest, and she is going to keep us regaled all night with stories of all kinds of places, and I don't have to do anything. So, which is perfect. So it's great for me because I've had a migraine all day, so this is working out for me good. So you were talking about some places there in Raleigh, and is there if I came there, which one place would you say is I can't miss? If I come into town, I have to go there.
Does it have to be in Raleigh?
No.
Okay. I'd say the Trivet Clinic, which is the place I talked about before. That's definitely, to me, that's like the Disneyland of paranormal places. So the owners are fantastic too. They also have cats around the area too. So that makes me, I'm the crazy cat lady. That makes me very excited. And that place is rumored to have over 70 spirits haunting it. And before anyone says, okay, that's crazy, Alex, I have a theory as to why that may be if it is true. I actually got in touch with someone who lived at the clinic after it was a detox clinic and supper club. It turned into a nursing home, 2 different variations of a nursing home, and then it turned into a private residence. So, quite a history of this location.
Is this a really big private residence?
Yeah, it's about, it's not like the size of a hospital. We're talking like a clinic, like 2 stories, Today it has like 4 rooms on the first floor, and then 5 rooms on the second floor. So, and it used to have many more rooms than that, but when the owners who moved in to live in, they renovated and knocked down some walls to make it more like a house. So it's a good size. I'll have to look up the specs on the side, but when this woman and her family moved in to live in the house, they were actually tearing down the nurses' ward which was in construction at the time. It was being built, but it never got finished because Dr. Trivette died. They were tearing that down, and apparently Dr. Trivette used that as kind of like his other office, and they found all these jars of body parts. Before anyone thinks that Dr. Trivette was like sinister, he definitely wasn't. Again, rural little clinic in the middle of North Carolina. That was how he studied. That's how he studied diseases and all sorts of ailments. And I asked this woman, I said, what did you all do with the body parts? And apparently they buried them on the property right in front of the clinic. So, and she didn't remember exactly how many jars there were, but they just put all the jars into a hole and covered up the hole, and that was it. So I think maybe there might be some attachments with that. Because I can't really explain a lot of I can identify who's haunting it, but why they're there, I'm like, I don't know why you're here.
Because it's random.
It's so random.
Or seems random when in fact it's not random because of the fact that their essence is there.
Yep.
Due to circumstances that are beyond their control.
Yep. Yeah. And this was a place where, we're talking like people went and got their tonsils out, at this clinic. Women did give birth at the clinic too. And this sign of the times. This is one of those things where women would go like a week before they were going to give birth, and they would just hang out there for like 2 or 3 weeks, have their baby, hang out a little longer, and then get in the car and drive home. The Statesville Hospital was close by, and that's where a lot of the more serious ailments were taken care of. Like when Dr. Trivette fell ill with pneumonia, he was taken out on a gurney with the nurses standing in line to see him out to the ambulance as they drove him to the hospital. So not many people died there. Some people did, but not many. So it's still a very positive place. I'm not scared when I go there. I actually get really excited. There's a little girl and a little boy that haunt the basement. The little girl's name is Majesty. Welcome to the South. And there's this ball she loves to play with, and she actually bats the ball around. I'm like, okay, well, it's cool. And I've never felt threatened there. I've maybe felt a little nervous there because there is something a little more sinister on the second floor. There's a wardrobe that was brought to the clinic, and with that wardrobe, a little girl was attached to it. So her name is Emily. And so Emily is there. But there is a gentleman that hangs out in that area that really doesn't like to talk to people, and he makes it very much known. He's even pulled some of the, if you have an Ovilus or you have any of those, anything that detects words, with a word bank, demon always pops up, and I'm like, oh, shut up, Jimmy. I'm like, come on.
Well, in some of those things, in some of, in the Ovilus, that word is built into it. It seems like it comes up every time. And that really kind of gets to me, that it comes up every time, and that, again, what we said in the beginning, demons are rare. But we do have a question in the chat, and it's from Tom. He asks, how can you focus on one spirit when there are many there?
Well, in our case, if it's a place that I have access to on a regular basis, I'll usually rotate. So with the Trivette Clinic, we go to the Trivette Clinic at least every other month. This year's been a little lax, but next year it's going to change. We can shift our focus, and we have the time to do that. If we're at a place like Old South Pittsburgh Hospital, where the drive is about 8 hours for us, and we only have maybe 6 hours in the building, then we're going to probably pay a little more attention to the ones that are louder, because we are pressed for time. But if we do have downtime, then we'll try to, contact and try to connect with whoever else is there. If they're willing to talk, though. I mean, I found a lot of times, especially in these popular locations, I think sometimes the ghosts get tired of talking. So.
Yeah, I know they do. Sometimes they get tired of being.
Give us a sign of your presence. How old are you?
Yeah.
Where are you from?
Stop
are you a man or a woman?
Stop poking me with a stick. Yeah, stop poking me with a stick.
I know what the lights do.
Yeah. Can you come up with something more original?
Yep.
That's one of the things that you'd think would be a good idea, to come up with some original questions, because at some point like when you go on a job interview, don't you get tired of, tell me a time when?
Mm-hmm.
Don't they get tired of hearing you make stuff up because you don't have a time when? Tell me a time when you. No, I'm sorry, but that's never happened. So I'm going to have to make something up that sounds reasonable to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the spirits are sitting there going, okay, well, I'm just going to walk away. And because one time we had a spirit said, do you want to talk to us? And she said, no. And we had nothing after that.
Yep.
I mean, okay. And she goes, and the way she said it was, no. And I was like, okay, we're done with you. So,
moving on.
And Gary from CC Paranormal Team, that's Caldwell County Paranormal in Caldwell County, Missouri. He asks, how many people are on your team?
Ooh, right now we have 6. We do have a stupendous team of volunteers helping us out with this little project we're doing next month for Halloween. But yeah, we have 6 right now. We used to be a little bit bigger, but I mean, life happens. People move on to bigger and better things. So yeah, so between the 6 of us, 5 of us are in Raleigh or around Raleigh or Durham. And we have one over in the Littleton, Roanoke Rapids area. It's actually where the Cryptozoology and Paranormal Museum is located. So, and she's very involved with that too. So, yeah.
Okay. And you wrote a second book. What was that second book called?
Oh, yeah. We have The Haunting of the 10th Avenue Theater. That one I'm actually in the middle of revamping right now. I'm kind of updating it because more cool stories came out after I published the book. So keep an eye out for that. I'm not sure when it's going to be coming out. Maybe January. We'll see. I also have another book before More Than Ghosts, which is called The Haunted Actor. And that book was actually kind of my thesis about theater and the supernatural and the connection with theater and performance and the paranormal. Super esoteric subject.
well, we investigated our second theater just recently, mm-hmm. and did not realize that theaters were some of the most haunted places in our known places. Mm-hmm. It's like, I had no clue. And so why?
Ooh, okay. So I'm really excited to talk about this because this is my bread and butter, literally. So I have a master's in theater. And so I've been in theater my whole life. I think from the time I was 8 years old to now. I mean, I'm still in theater. And from the time I did my first show, I was told legends about the, whatever theater I was in. Like, there was always a ghost story with it. And this always stuck with me. And as I grew in my my theatrical career, and I started digging a bit deeper into the art, and reading as many places as I could, one of them being Shakespeare and Christopher Marlowe and Ben Jonson. And when I was reading these plays, I realized, I'm like, oh, wait a minute. There's ghosts. Shakespeare wrote about ghosts and demons and all these things. And it kind of was my really delayed light bulb in this. I'm like, oh crap. There were people investigating the paranormal in Elizabethan England. So, and talking about it. And I mean, we were talking about King James and demonology and gosh, all the poor, women and men and children that were burned at the stake, because, we had the Salem witch trials, England and Ireland and Scotland. They had like the witch trials times 1,000. So,
Yeah.
so this was a topic of interest. So, and then I was thinking, okay, this goes way further back than Elizabethan England. Let's go back to ancient Greece. Let's go back to ancient Rome. Holy crap. There was a ghost story from ancient Greece written by Pliny the Younger. Okay. So, and it's all connected with theater and performance and art, which anyone who is an artist or has seen a show or seen someone perform or create a piece of art, there's a lot of energy that goes into it. And not only is that energy coming from the creator, but it's also coming from the audience, the people who are watching this and enjoying the performance or enjoying that piece of art. There's an extraordinarily large amount of energy with this. So that was really what got me interested. And for me, that's a big reason why theaters are haunted. Because you have a lot of energy coming from the performers. There's energy coming from the audience. You also have energy coming from the costumes and props, because I doubt, someone correct me if I'm wrong, I doubt that there was somebody holding a bundle of sage after every run of a show, clearing out the energy of the person who wore that costume or held that prop. So, and most theaters rent their costumes and props because it saves money. So you don't know how many times that person or how many times that costume piece has been worn. And also you have the lights and the sound, which is a lot of electricity and a lot of power. So,
Yeah, that is. I mean, I never thought of it in that way. We actually went and investigated the Egyptian theater in DeKalb, Illinois.
ooh,
And that was part of SpookShowCon, one of the events that we had after SpookShowCon.
mm-hmm.
And it was an amazing place, considering how long it had been open. And it was, other than it was hot, because it doesn't have air conditioning. So it's original as to when it was built. No air conditioning. But some of the things that we saw, like the tunnels underneath they go underneath the stage to get to the orchestra pit, and the stuff that you don't get to see as a theater going person, as not when you walk in, you're, oh, look, and then you get underneath in the building, in the basement, behind the stage, in the dressing rooms. It's a totally different place.
Yep, exactly. And I was actually in a theater that had something very similar. And actually, there's a theater in Raleigh that has something similar. It's actually not uncommon to have like the understage tunnels for the orchestra pit. And just think, behind that curtain, you got like all the dressing rooms, and you have, the work area where a lot of the tech people are building set pieces. So there's a whole, like, I like to think of it as an anthill. Like, you see the anthill, but you have no idea, like underneath the sand and the dirt, there's tunnels of all these little ants working and making it happen. So, it's pretty incredible.
There's this other place that we investigated as well that was a community center that on the second, well, it was a whole bunch of things. It's in a small town of Polo, Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
And on the second floor was actually a theater. And it still had some of the painted backdrops from, the building was built in 1890 something. I don't remember exactly right now, but it was built a long time ago. It still had, how you had to use poles to move it backwards so that the backdrops would be further back. That part, it was just amazing to see this. And they were hand painted by whomever was their background artist. So you figure that has to create so much energy in there that it's still there after all these owners. 1896. Thank you, Gary. And just the fact that this town never really ever had that many people in it, but it had this huge theater. Not huge. It was huge for them, but it is just amazing to look at it. So, and we had some activity up there that was unusual. So I was just excited as heck for, to see that. So, is there one theater that you want to investigate over all others?
Let's see. Well, the 10th Avenue Theater, the place that I wrote a book about, I can always go back there and be happy. Now there are a few theaters in New York City that really stand out to me. Because one, it's New York City and it's Broadway. But they're also haunted by famous people. So for me, I've always wanted to meet some of my favorite, performers of the past. Why not meet their ghosts? I guess that's the next best thing. But there is one, oh gosh, I need to remember the name of it. Let's see. There is, I'm looking at them. I got my little theater notes that I just kind of look up at the last minute. Let's see. There is, nope, not that one. Let's see. Richard,
Make it quick.
I know, right? Probably the Richard Rogers Theater. That's where Hamilton is playing right now, for those of you who are really involved in theater. So that one, there is a ghost of a female actress that writes on the wall, on the mirrors and lipstick in the women's dressing room. Judy Garland haunts the Palace Theater in New York City. So if you didn't get a chance to meet Judy Garland in life, you can meet her in spirit.
Okay. Well, everybody, you're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. We'll be back in a couple minutes with Alex Matsuo.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama. Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama.
Abnormal Alabama presents Crypticon October 25th and 26th at the Port of the Wharf, Orange Beach. Bigfoot, the paranormal, authors and speakers, vendors, and your chance to experience the Psychomantheum. There'll be a costume contest and much, much more. October 25th and 26th at the Port of the Wharf, Orange Beach. Get more info, directions, and tickets available now at abnormalalabama.com. That's abnormalalabama.com.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 45 minutes after the hour.
Welcome back to the Paranormal Pride. My guest tonight is Alex Matsuo, and if in case you guys didn't know, I'm Denise. And we're having a great show tonight. Alex is telling us about all kinds of things, and her favorite thing is to tell us about is haunted theaters, of course, because that is her everything. And as you heard, if you'd been listening before, she's also an author, and she has a website. And what's that website called again?
I actually have two. There's my personal one, which is alexmatsuo.com. It's just my name, no spaces.com. And then I have my team's website, the Association of Paranormal Study, and you can find that at parastudync.com, like Parastudy, North Carolina, parastudync.com.
Perfect. And I'll make sure I share those in the chat room so that everybody can see those and go click on them, because I know everybody likes to go and make favorites out of these. So they'll be in there. And because Alex has got a lot of stuff on her website that's very interesting to read. I can't remember everything. Like I said, I had a migraine today, and I don't know why. So it's probably the weather change that's coming. But we do have another question for you in the chat room. This one's also from Gary, and he asks, do you believe that angels or demons can appear as humans?
Ooh, that's a good question. So short answer, I'm going to say yes, although I'm a little hesitant to say yes for the demon part of it, because I'm super skeptical about demons. We can blame reality TV for that. And but I believe that whether you call them angels, I mean, you could call them spirit guides, guardians, guardian angels. I feel like they do make themselves known to us in person, but we don't know that it's them for a reason. But the demon part of it, I'm not 100% on that.
Okay. Well, Gary's a minister, so he always wants to know what people's thoughts are on angels and demons, so that's perfect. And you already answered part of Rhodey's question. Part of Rhodey's question is what group are you with? And you answered that, but I'm going to go ahead and let you answer that again with the rest of the question. And how long have you been investigating?
Yeah. So my group is called the Association of Paranormal Study, and I started that group in 2011, and I'm the founder and director. So I basically did that because I wanted to make my own rules, mainly because of accountability, because my schedule changes all the time, and I didn't know if I could commit to another team and be able to fulfill that obligation and then end up having to drop out, which is never fun. So I kind of created my own team, and I kind of took everything that I liked from the teams that I shadowed, and kind of took the things that I liked, left out the things I didn't like, and created APS out of that. And I've been investigating, if we count, oh gosh, I have to do quick math right now. If we count my teenage years after I got my driver's license and I was sneaking out to go to the local cemetery, which I do not recommend. That is not an endorsement to do that. Let's see. Then I've been doing it for 17 years.
Okay. And the rest of her question, let me get back down there to that. The rest of her question is, what got you interested in the paranormal?
Okay. Ooh, well, I think my story is not that terribly exciting because everyone kind of has the same thing. I had experiences when I was younger, and I had weird experiences I couldn't explain. And At the time, my mom and grandma were like, no, we're not going to go into this rabbit hole. You just need to pray and it'll be fine. It'll go away. My mom was incredibly paranoid about me getting into paranormal stuff. She wouldn't let me read the Goosebumps books growing up. She wouldn't let me watch Are You Afraid of the Dark on, Nickelodeon. Anything involving anything spooky or the occult was not allowed in the house. And of course, when you tell a kid no, they're going to want to know more. So I learned how to speed read because I would see these books in the library, both at my school and the local library, and I try to read as much as possible because I couldn't take the book home with me. So,
Right.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
to get confiscated.
Exactly. And I didn't want to pay a library fine if my mom decided to throw the book away. So,
Yeah, that's not good.
yeah.
And where are you from?
Originally, I'm from San Diego, California.
Okay. So, well, that's kind of a closed-minded thinking for California.
San Diego, back in the 80s and 90s, there was parts of it that was fairly conservative. Today, it's a little different. But I grew up in San Diego from 1980. No, I guess no. My mom moved there when I was a baby. So 1986 to I lived there till 2013. So
You're just a baby.
I am. I am. I don't feel like it sometimes though.
You're about as old as my daughter. My
Oh,
oldest
cool.
daughter. So, that's sad.
Oh, no, not at all.
So, I just feel now I should never have asked that. Now I feel really old. No, I don't feel old. I'll never feel old. I'm looking to see if I've got any more questions. Brody asked, did she write a book about... Yes, she did write a book about a theater. You wrote a book about a theater in North Carolina.
Right? I wrote about the 10th Avenue Theater is actually in San Diego.
Okay, there you go. Then, yeah. Rhodey, you're right. It is in California. I guess I figured it was going to be the one by where you live.
Yeah, actually, no. It's there are a few theaters here in North Carolina that are haunted. I just haven't had a chance to really get in them yet. There is one I'm most likely going to get into in the next few months, so we'll see how that goes. Yeah.
Perfect. So what else are you working on that's going to be exciting to people in the paranormal?
Well, let's see. I just finished writing the first draft of my next book, which is called The Brave Mortal's Guide to Ghost Hunting. And it's a ghost hunting 101 book. I do hope that seasoned investigators will find a lot of value in it, but really, my target audience it are the new people into ghost hunting. And it's got a little bit of dramatic flair to it, hence the title. And also, it's going to have updates and, information about the latest things with tech like ITC and, those sort of things. So the paranormal community as it is right now in 2019, 2020, and so on. So, and I talk a lot about my own experiences. I have some stories in there from my own paranormal adventures in there, just not just as a, hey, learn your name or learn your lessons from my mistakes, but a lot of like, hey, this cool thing happened that I've never really talked about, in public before. So, yeah.
The thing is, do you think that the paranormal field, investigators, that they're expanding or that we're contracting at this point?
I think we're expanding. I think if you compare the paranormal community back from like the 70s and 80s to today, we've definitely expanded.
Yeah, I think so. From then, I'm wondering, what do you think about in the last, from like 5 years ago to now?
Well, I found that a lot of where we are in the paranormal community right now has a lot to do with where we are in television, which I hate to say that, but it is true. Because right now I don't know if we're ever going to see a peak again that we saw in the early 2000s when Ghost Hunters came out. Or when like shows like Paranormal State and Ghost Adventures, when they first came out and everybody was starting a team, like you could throw a rock and hit a team.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure. I'm finding nowadays the skeptics are a lot louder, which is good. For me, we need skeptics. I think we need them and they need us.
We don't need sheeple.
Yeah, well, exactly. And I will say, I think there's a lack of critical thinking right now, a lot in the paranormal community, which is a big reason why I wrote this book, because I heavily emphasize critical thinking a lot in the book, because you don't want to just look at something that someone posted in a Facebook group and think, oh my God, it's a demon, and then you're freaked out. You know, it's not going to get anything done. So the book talks a lot about, you know, how to get started in ghost hunting, some things you should know about ghost hunting. Like I do talk a lot about safety. That's always a big thing. I also talk about different theories out there, different methods of investigating, different methods of research, which I find there is a gross lack of, because a lot of people will, like I said, they'll look at the Haunted Locations website, they'll look at that history and go, oh, we're good. We actually fell into that trap. My former historian that was on the team, and I don't say this like to ding her at all, she thought she made a breakthrough in the location of Gina Hall's body, the girl who died around St. Albans Sanatorium. And she did the right things, but she didn't check her source. Because as she was doing her research, she saw a comment from somebody who claimed to be an investigator for Gina Hall's case and took what he said and ran with it. Where on our website, we were saying that Gina Hall's body might most likely be in the concrete that was poured in the new building right next door to St. Albans. Well, we got grilled for it because the day that Gina Hall disappeared, the concrete had already been poured. Whoops. So that's just an example. We make mistakes all the time and we have to own up to it. So I will say I own up to my mistake. I should have checked that better. But I got so wrapped up in the, oh my gosh, this is like really incredible. Oh crap. I didn't check dates on the headlines or the newspaper clippings. So that's a big thing I emphasize. Do your research, but go outside of the website, go outside of a random commenter on an article. Yeah. Also, genealogy.
Newspaper clippings.
Yep. Genealogy. I think genealogy, especially in the last couple of years I've been investigating, is so important in paranormal research. Mm-hmm. And it can be extensive and it can be expensive. I'm obsessed with genealogy, so I swing the $20 a month for Ancestry.com. And I found extraordinary information about the people who have resided in these places. I'm doing a lot of genealogy work for the Trivet Clinic right now. And I'm like, oh my gosh, so this is why this thing happened. And I can put faces to names of the people I heard about. Because I was getting a lot of stories from locals, but I didn't even know where to begin to verify that these stories were true. Enter genealogy. So yeah.
There is a lot on the LDS website on genealogy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's free. And it's amazing what you can find if you look in the right place. And research is huge when it comes right down to it. And I don't know. I mean, newspapers.com is excellent for finding out information prior to the 1940s.
Yep.
Because everything was in the paper. I mean, some of the stuff even after that is in the paper, but who came to town, where they were staying, what they were doing, all of that's in there. Mrs. Smith had a card game and these people attended. at her residence. And,
that made the paper.
Right. You could tell where Mrs. Smith lived because it's saying at her residence. And, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde were there at her party, and yep. I mean, I know I'm making fun, but you know what? Doesn't matter. We're at a break. So everyone, this is our 5-minute news break. So please go do what you got to do and come back. You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. We'll be back in a few minutes.
He did nothing wrong. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. President Trump speaking out about the phone call he made with the leader of Ukraine.
After first refusing to talk about it, President Trump at the United Nations today now openly acknowledging that he did discuss Joe Biden and his son Hunter with Ukraine's president. And the president defiant about it, saying it was okay because he was talking about them in terms of ridding Ukraine of corruption.
Fox's John Roberts traveling with the president in New York. Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer saying action must be taken immediately.
By law, a whistleblower complaint labeled in this way must be transmitted to Congress. Not shall be transmitted to Congress, must be.
Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell.
As my friend Senator Schumer is aware, Chairman Burr and Vice Chairman Warner have been working together to get the acting director of intelligence and the intelligence community's inspector general before the committee this week to discuss the matter.
The chairman of 3 Democratic-led House committees threatening to subpoena Secretary of State Mike Pompeo if he does not provide answers. A New Jersey man accused in a terror plot against major landmarks in court today.
Alexei Saab pleaded not guilty to the 9 counts he faces, which include supporting a terrorist group, receiving military training from a terrorist organization, and marriage fraud. Saab was arrested last week after investigators say he gathered information and logistics on targets in New York City, transmitting them to his Hezbollah contacts. The charges Saab faces could mean decades behind bars if he's convicted at trial. His next court appearance is on Wednesday.
Fox's Gernal Scott in New York. Federal authorities arresting an Army soldier they accused of discussing a possible bomb attack with an FBI informant. Jarrett William Smith charged with 1 count of sharing bomb-making instructions online. America is listening to Fox News.
The following message is brought to you by TD Ameritrade. So you've done a ton of research on a trade, but you can't decide if you want to go through with it. TD Ameritrade's trade desk might be the secret to figuring it all out. Just go to tdameritrade.com/trade desk to see how they can help gut check your trades. Member SIPC.
An ATF agent in Washington state suing over a change in assignment after filing a complaint against a coworker.
Cheryl Bishop is an ATF supervisor and was a canine agent with a bomb-sniffing dog named Allegra. But in a lawsuit, she says the agency told her she could not work in the ATF Science and Technology Division and have her canine, after earlier telling her that she could. And that reversal only happened after she filed a complaint against Agent Bradford Devlin. He has a Nazi SS-themed tattoo on his arm from his days working undercover with an Aryan biker gang in Ohio. But she says he also sent racist and anti-Obama emails around to agents long after undercover work ended. She also says he's disparaged her over the years in front of other agents. A federal judge has ordered trial to begin at the end of October. Jessica Rosenthal, Fox News.
A $50 million fund for compensating families of those killed in Boeing 737 MAX jet crashes has begun taking claims. Dozens of people are suing the company, which said relatives won't have to drop their lawsuit to get compensation. A music icon announces he's leaving the business.
Berry Gordy is leaving the record business. The man who launched Motown Records and the careers of Stevie Wonder, Diana Ross, and many more announced his retirement, according to the Detroit Free Press. Gordy said he had come full circle at a 60th anniversary event for Motown Records. Gordy built Motown Records into a hit-making machine during the 60s and through the 70s. He sold it in 1988, but has remained active, developing a musical and stayed involved in the Motown Museum's multi-million-dollar expansion campaign with a $4 million contribution last month. Michelle Polino, Fox News.
The ratings for last night's Emmy Awards, the worst ever. The Nielsen Company says 6.9 million people watched, a drop of 32% from last year. I'm Lisa Lacera, and this is Fox News.
The following message is brought to you by TD Ameritrade. Like the economy, investing can seem complicated until it's explained in simpler terms. That's how TD Ameritrade approaches investing, by learning more about you and your goals before crafting a plan. It's that simple. To schedule a complimentary goal planning session today, visit tdameritrade.com/goal planning. Member SIPC.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama.
Welcome back to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 5 minutes after the hour.
Welcome back to the Paranormal Pride. I'm your host, Denise Pridemore, and I got a little helper right now who came in to help. And my guest tonight is Alex Matsuo, and we're talking about all kinds of things. When we left, we were talking about the importance of research, and I want to go ahead and continue some more with that. I think there's some more that we can go on that. What are some of the better websites for research? I mean, I know Ancestry, and we talked about there's one for, like I said, the Latter-day Saints has a good genealogy website. I forget the name of it. But what are some of the websites you guys use for research?
I use academia.edu a lot. That sends me to academic papers, but with most academic papers, they are heavily checked for plagiarism and accuracy for the most part. We also use books.google.com, so we look up like snippets from books. Gives us a chance to search like specific terms. We'll also check Find a Grave, of all places, findagrave.com. That's a favorite of ours.
Oh, it is. It's good. Sometimes it's got stories on there and newspaper articles and other things that go along with that person, and sometimes even how they passed.
Yep. Let's see. Other websites. I mean, local libraries. A lot of libraries will have access to a lot of really interesting documents online, so if you can't get to that library in the middle of Montana, you might be able to access some of their resources online, or even just call them and ask them to scan things in for you, which I've done a few times, and they've always been very willing to do that. And museums like, National Archives, I do that a lot for military records and census records too, in case Ancestry, I can't really access it through Ancestry at the time. Let's see, let me get the website real quick. Archives.gov is a great one. So that's like service records for military, which is important if you're looking at something from.
What did you say? You said you broke up you said archives.com?
.gov.
.gov.
Yeah, it's the National Archives. That's a great one. That's a great one for military records, which a lot of times we need sometimes, depending on what we're investigating. If you're looking at a World War II era location, like with us, we have the USS North Carolina, or Battleship North Carolina, as it's better known. Let's see, USS Hornet. So if you want to look, if you want to look up and make sure that the people that are supposedly haunting these places actually exist, that's a good start. That's a good place to go, without the Ancestry description. And let's see. Let me look up one more website. I just want to make sure I got the records right. I actually found this website while I was doing my own research, for my own family research. Let me see if I can pull it up. Actually, it might be part of the archives. Yeah, archives.gov again. I have family that was put into the Japanese American internment camps. So those records are there as well of who was, processed and all that fun stuff. So archives.gov is a very good one, actually.
I can see that. I think I've used that one as well. Is there a better way to search, like in Google? Is there a better way to search something in Google to find what you're looking for faster? So it sends you to the right place. You know, like if I'm searching for Sally Field, I'm not looking for Sally Field on IMDb. I'm looking for, you know, my family member, Sally Field. You know, I don't know if I have one, but I know I have a Sally. But, you know, I'm looking for her. Is there a better way to search, like quotes around her name and maybe a location or something like that to maybe narrow down what I'm looking for?
Yeah. So if anyone ever looks at my Google search history, it's a little terrifying. So if I wanted to find Sally Field, the person that you're related to, I would look up Sally Field and I would look up the town where she may have lived, or I'll look up the year that she died or the year that she was born. And I'll go from there. I'll look for any family connections. Like if there's an obituary, maybe not for Sally, but maybe for her husband, you know, like, you know, survived by wife Sally Field. So I find that if I can at least do that, I start with the city. I start with the town. I'll even jumble up like the family name too. Like I'll be like Sally Field, Denise Pridemore. I'll search that and see what pops up. No quotations. Although if Google gets a little too jumbled up, then yes, I will use quotations. Yeah. So, or I find if I do the name, the city, the year they, like a remarkable year. So I'm talking like the year that they were born, the year they got married. If they're Catholic, the year they were christened, the year that they died, you know, things like that. If I'm looking for anything more than that, I'll attach a family name to that. Like maybe I won't do Denise Pridemore, I'll just do Pridemore. Or I'll do, like if I'm looking up my grandpa, there's a lot of John Matsuos in my family because my grandpa was that awesome of a guy that everyone in the family named their sons after him. I'll look up John Matsuo, Minnesota, because he was stationed in Minnesota for a while, and he actually was the poster child for racial equality in Minnesota. So that will pull up a completely different story though. But if you look up my grandfather, like John Matsuo daisy chain, you'll find his patent for the daisy chain. So, which doesn't really relate to his time in Minnesota because he didn't invent the daisy chain when he was in Minnesota. So I have to consider what stage of the person's life that I want to look up. So that's a big one.
Well, like you said, a lot of people don't know how to, you said daisy chain. Nobody knows how to a lot of people don't know how to daisy chain all this stuff together to get to the information that they're looking for. You know, the spirit gives me a piece of information. Like when we were talking earlier off the air about a location, spirits came to me, gave me information about the location. We go to the location, we investigate, we come home. Okay. I don't usually go to an investigation my very first time with any information other than what spirits have told me. You know, everybody else may have researched it. I don't know anything. I go in blind. But afterwards, I'm going to go and I'm going to look up the stuff that the spirits have told me. I'm going to try to find out everything I can about them. So I will basically daisy chain it all together until I find out what I'm trying to find out about this person who lived at that time. Are they telling me something? Did they exist? One recently came to me at my house. This has to do with that theater in Polo, Missouri. He told me his name was Elijah or Eli. I was like, okay, fine, whatever. And I couldn't, you know, he couldn't show me a last name to save my life. Couldn't tell me anything other than, you know, I was important. And I was like, okay, whatever. And I was just like, okay, well, are you just think you were important? You know, because you know how people are. sometimes they think that they're more important than people really think that they were. So, I didn't think nothing of it. We go and we're driving across the highway there, 13, Missouri 13, I think it is. And there's a gravestone, and here's this spirit that was in my bedroom telling me stuff, standing next to this gravestone.
Mm-hmm.
It says Robeson. Like, well, I guess that's his last name. So we get in, and Ron sees the look on my face, like, what in the heck what are you seeing? You see graveyards all the time. It's not a big deal. Well, I said, well, I don't know. I said, I think it may have something to do with the spirit that I've been seeing. Maybe that's his last name. But I didn't have internet access on my phone because it's very rural Missouri. And so I couldn't look anything up. I barely had enough service to make phone calls. So it had to be 4 or 5 hours later, I'm asking questions to people there, and they don't know anything. So go across the street, and I finally get service from the convenience store.
Nice.
And I look it up on Find a Grave. Find out this is the graveyard this guy's buried in. More than likely, it was his gravestone.
Oh, wow.
So he told me I knew his first name. Now I think I know his last name. And I find his obituary, and he was an important person.
Oh, nice.
He was well liked. And so I was like, okay, well, this is nice. So normally I can't research something when I'm right on the site.
Yeah.
But this isn't the first time a gravestone has given me information, or I've heard or seen a spirit in a graveyard that has drugged me down a rabbit hole similar to that. And me or someone else has to look it up right away and find out the information. So it's always interesting to, hey, Find a Grave has got this. Some of the colleges have some wonderful information out there. Like here, KU has a lot of stuff on the African Americans in our area and the history there. And I don't know where they got it from, but there was a lot of information on that at their library. There's a lot of stuff about John Brown and stuff here, even though John Brown died in Virginia.
Yep.
But we have a lot of stuff related to John Brown by me where I live, but also up north of where I live and going all the way across basically the country, going east. But you wouldn't know that if you didn't look at all the archives that they have at the local universities. So they've got a ton of information. So I appreciate the information that you've given us on these other websites, because I did not know. I mean, I think I knew about archive.com, but the academia website, I did not know about.
Yeah, that's a really good resource, because it gives you a chance to read academic style papers, and most of these are very well researched because you have to have a university connection. In most cases, I don't know if that's the case these days. It's been a while since I've really dug in there outside of my normal circle of resources, but yeah, it's a good place to start.
Yeah, there's a ton of information. I mean, just local. I mean, if it's in a local place, would it be best to start at a local library if it's a small town?
I would say, yeah, definitely. Newspapers.com would be a good one too. Yeah, just because newspapers.com, as you mentioned, I mean, you can get records on anything.
Almost.
I mean, it's incredible.
And it does depend on what you're looking for, but I know at one time I was researching Atchison, Kansas. They had 6 different newspapers in the town, and at one time they had 30,000 people in the town. Now there's 9,000. They barely have one newspaper, and you could find that the same article or the same story was written up 6 different ways in the 6 different newspapers, and so you could get a different viewpoint based on which newspaper you read.
Yeah.
So it's always interesting to find the information that they're sharing and the way that they share it. And for some reason, you can also find out the paper's political view based on the way they wrote it. And it was funny, some of them. So everyone, we're at our next break. You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. If you guys have any questions whatsoever for Alex Matsuo, please put them in the chat, because you're not going to have too many more minutes here left to ask those questions. So please make sure you go get your drink and come back, because we're going to have a lot more things to talk about.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Several U.S. presidents are on record talking about the UFO mystery.
Yeah, Presidents Jimmy Carter, Ronald Reagan both had UFO sightings of their own, but the current presidential campaign might be the first in which UFO disclosure has been championed by a major party candidate.
DIA, CIA, it moves around, is operating a program to train psychic spies to spy and use their powers against Russia. John Ronson writes about this in The Men Who Stare at Goats.
The first known sighting of a ghost took place right after Abraham Lincoln was assassinated in the late 1860s during the administration of Ulysses Grant.
Project Paperclip, Clinton releases it all in 1998.
Possibly the unequal cooling of its surface.
I say, do you still think it's a meteor, Professor?
I don't know what to think. The metal casing is definitely extraterrestrial.
It's a place where UFO hunters and scientists gather to examine paranormal activity in the region.
Some of the documents, this is bringing Nazi scientists into the United States to work here. So we fought against the Nazis, and it's not, this again is not a revelation. As early as 1947, 1946, we knew some of this, right?
On the paranormal, will we see U.S. President Barack Obama's foreign policy go intergalactic in a quest for gold stolen by aliens? We'll tell you at least how the White House responded to claims the chief executive has been teleporting to Mars. But let's get to today's Capitol account.
UFOs, hauntings, psychic abilities, conspiracy, ESP, cryptozoology. There are many things that remain unexplained in the inexplicable world around us, and we're talking about them here, looking for answers on WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama. The truth is out there.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 23 minutes after the hour.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Paranormal Pride. I'm your host, Denise Pridemore, and my guest tonight is Alex Matsuo. And we just finished up talking about research and how important that is. Because we all know if you go into a location and you go in, your first investigation there might be okay, but your second one, you need to go in with some information. You need to go in with some valid facts, not just urban legend and, like you said before, the website information. Because, you never know what you're going to be projecting. And here recently, on Ghost Hunters even, they went in with anecdotal information and they had a terrible investigation. And the next night they went in with some real factual information and they had an entirely different investigation. That was actually impressive to see how research can change your investigation.
Yep.
And it was one of the very first times in a while that I was impressed with the results of a paranormal show. So, and that's why, because it proved the importance of research.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've found that if you try to go in with the website info or the legends and whatnot, for me, in my experience, I have not gotten a lot of results from that. Interestingly enough, sometimes if I just walk in and just assume the history of the place, like going to the battleship North Carolina and just assuming, okay, I'm going to talk about World War II and I'm going to get a response. Not quite. So, but luckily we had done our research about, well, since we're a team of women's roles at the time during World War II, and we started talking about that and using that to our advantage. And we actually had a really productive investigation from that. So, not just knowing this too, knowing the real stories or knowing the people, the names, the true context of the location, but also knowing the context of history, where that location may have seen its prime, so to speak. Like with the USS North Carolina, World War II. What were women doing in World War II? What were the majority of women doing during World War II? There were a few exceptions in terms of serving, but the men, whenever we dressed up in period clothing. We dressed up in clothes from the 1940s. And every time we tried to talk about the war, there was no response. How do you go on a ship and not talk about the war? Like, what? But then we started we started being a little flirtatious. It's like, oh, is there a sailor that wants to take us out, take us out for the evening or take us out on a date? Kind of like what a lot of women did, when the sailors were on the shore. And, we were kind of playing with that, and we were getting responses like crazy. So these men were not interested in talking about the war with us. They wanted to flirt.
Well, I can understand that. Why do you want to talk about work?
Yep, exactly. And we had brought like photos from the war and, some things from Pearl Harbor that were actually quite graphic. Our historian at the time had a connection with a photographer from that period, and so had access to some really graphic photos. And I don't want to say we were using them as trigger objects. We just kind of laid the photos out and just said, hey, how do you feel about this? Nothing. No response at all. But talking about going out to eat or getting a drink, oh yeah, that's when all the lights were going off and and the ladies were getting their skirts flipped up. That was fun.
Oh yeah. I mean, you probably get more response saying, hey, you want to pay a dime a dance? Things like that. You want to go watch this movie about how not to get sick by going around the block?
Yep.
I'm from Baltimore, and the Navy would come into town, and we had a place called the Block. And and yes, it's exactly what you think it was for. And that's what it was known for. And back even in the days of, way back in the days of, let's see, who am I trying to say? Edgar Allan Poe. It was known for that back in those days. It was our red light district. And so I think I would be prepared to talk to sailors on a ship about what they would be doing on a night off.
Yep. So that's always fun. But knowing your audience, and that comes from research.
It does. I mean, if you don't know your audience, regardless of what it is, you're not going to get over. You're going to be sitting there talking to the wall.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody's going to be bored. So not always good. So, everybody has a bucket list location, and we talked a little bit about your bucket list theater location. Do you have a bucket list location that's not a theater?
Ooh, I've always wanted to go to Moundsville. That's a place that I know it's one of like the more populated paranormal spots and very touristy, but I've never been there, so I've always wanted to go there. I don't know how I would ever get the opportunity to do this, but the White House. I would love to investigate the White House.
It's actually very interesting when you walk in there. I'm going to tell you that. If you see and hear spirits, it is overwhelming.
Yeah.
The last time I went, I'm not going to tell you how old I was, but I will tell you it was back in 1981, the last time I went. And it was overwhelming for me back then.
Oh, wow.
Another place that's overwhelming would be the Smithsonian.
Oh, I've been there, yeah.
Talk about haunted objects.
Oh, yeah.
You can't walk a foot without a haunted object. But that's a whole different problem.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I'm going to ask you what do you feel about haunted objects? Do you believe that that's a phenomenon that occurs?
I believe that energy can be stored in objects. I'm not certain that maybe a conscious energy is stored in objects unless there's maybe someone attached to it, which I could see that happening. I just don't know how likely that is. Back in 2013, a Titanic exhibit actually made its way through Raleigh. And I was there with the person that we're not going to talk about, but you know who it is. And we had actually talked about that quite a bit because we had seen a lot of objects from the ship that were truly remarkable. And I was feeling a little weird, and I don't consider myself psychic at all. Dare I say I might be a little bit sensitive. And I honestly blame that on my acting training. Because I have to keep myself open to like different feelings and all that stuff. Since then I've learned how to, create my little wall, but I was feeling a little bit overwhelmed emotionally. And that could have just been being in the presence of these objects and really seeing the even just the small morsel of the artifacts that I saw, times that by the thousands. I mean, it got overwhelming. So for me, and I've heard that objects from the Titanic are very haunted. And I would hope that the poor victims, the souls that were lost that night, are not attached to I hope they're not attached to their objects. I hope they moved on and went towards the light and whatnot. And that's how I feel about any object, to be honest. I don't know how I feel about the possibility of spending eternity attached to a ring or a doll or a piece of furniture. But I do believe that their energy can be attached to it.
I just wonder how long something can be attached, a spirit can be attached to an object. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. It's like, is there a period of time? Does it wear off? I mean,
yeah, especially if it's been in water.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Titanic. I mean, if it's been in water, how long does it stay? Does it wash off? I mean, I don't know. I mean,
well, especially with salt water. I mean, salt is one of the spiritual cleansing agents,
Right, and so is water.
And so is water. So it's like, what?
I guess I'm just asking. I don't know. I mean, I know you don't know either, but it just my brain tells me it shouldn't last long, and compared to that. But, everybody finds the Titanic, anything related to it, to be hauntingly romantic. Even though it's not really romantic at all. But they do find it that way, and I think it's more from the movie than from the actual sinking.
I blame James Cameron for that.
Well, we blame James Cameron for a lot of things. So, but it was a very good movie.
It was.
It brought to light a lot of different things to people about that time, and there was some facts in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that it was all facts, because it wasn't. But hey, the unsinkable Molly Brown, that's true.
Yep.
She didn't die. And her house, hauntingly amazing in Denver. You know, if you ever get a chance to go. It's neat. You be careful where you park your car, because it could be towed. But her house is amazing. It's not, it's just a very, the people that they had portrayed in that movie were very interesting people.
Mm-hmm.
And I would love to hear, I'd love to hear more about the real people.
Yeah.
So, Rhodey has one last question. Do you have a blog or anything like that?
Yeah, I do a lot of writing for my team's website. You can find, that's a lot of my research-based stuff. I'm working on one right now about paranormal cats, which is fun because I love cats.
Yeah.
And I do blog a lot on my personal website, but not all of it is paranormal related. My last several pieces haven't been paranormal related at all. So, but I do have a few paranormal blogs on my personal website, like ghost hunting tips for newbies, I did self-care in the paranormal for APS also. So between those two websites, you'll be able to find my stuff.
Perfect. And I know that if you're doing paranormal cats, how do you keep the cats active enough to to do anything paranormal? Because ours are all sleeping.
Well, this vlog is very much about the paranormal lore surrounding cats.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And actually, a lot of that is branched from my interest in anime. So, yes, I'm an anime geek for anyone that's listening. And anyone who watches anime might know that animals can be a very prominent presence in these shows, or manga, especially cats. So, and I did some very basic research, of course, and found that a lot of these cats in these shows are based on actual legends. And then, I cross-reference that, I have this daisy chain, lasers going off in my brain. And I'm like, oh, wait, there's actually a lot of stuff about cats and, ghosts and witches and all this stuff. So anyway.
well, I'd say, because if you're trying to get cats involved in paranormal investigating, I don't see that working very good.
Nope.
I mean, mine are snoring, and
which is a good thing.
Well, actually, since they sleep 22 hours a day, yeah, I see 4 cats asleep right now.
Yeah.
So I don't know where the 5th one is, but 4 are sleeping. So it's perfect. Mm-hmm. Gary asks, what do you think? What are your thoughts on dowsing rods?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Unfortunately, and it's not because I don't trust anybody. I hesitantly trust people. Unless I'm holding them myself and I can really stay on top of myself to make sure I'm not moving them, I'm very skeptical about dowsing rods. And dowsing rods, my cat has an opinion about it apparently too, because she's meowing. This is a tricky area because I've seen people use dowsing rods, and it'll just be some random dowsing rods that they picked up on a ghost tour, and all of a sudden it's pointing to things for them. I'm like, no, that's not how it works. My mom was very much into dowsing. Ironic, yes, the same woman who wouldn't let me read Goosebumps books. She actually took several classes about dowsing towards the end of her life, and I actually wasn't involved with her in conversation about it while she was alive, but I found her notes, which I'm still trying to dissect. But from my understanding with dowsing, and anyone who's more familiar with dowsing, feel free to chime in. It's more of being synced up with your energy.
It is.
So, yeah. So, I mean, if you're picking up dowsing rods on a ghost tour that have been used by like 30 people before you and they haven't been cleansed or anything, so to speak, or given a chance to get in tune with your energy, but also in terms of,
it's like chewing used bubble gum.
Yes, and my thing is asking the ghost to manipulate the dowsing rods to show. Hit the microphone. Sorry, guys. I got really intense there. And asking the ghost to use the rods to show you where they're pointing at. From my understanding, is you need to ask the rods or your energy to direct you where the ghost is, if that's how you're going to use them. So. Yeah, so from that and reading all these notes and reading the book that my mom had, I'm like, okay, so everything I've known about dowsing rods hasn't, because we don't really use them that much, has been maybe not so correct. And I've also watched people holding the rods in their hands, and I'm watching their hands move, and I'm like, nope.
Yeah.
Nope. And, I mean. Yeah,
my hands never move when I use them. But again, you always wonder who is manipulating them, whether it's the person who's doing it subtly where you can't see it, or is it actually a spirit. And I am very good with dowsing rods. I actually have a collection of them, and I'm very particular about them. Now, I'll let people use them. Doesn't bother me at all to let someone use them, but I will go and I will clear them when they're done. They will be cleansed as soon as they're done. I'm already taking care of that so that they get back to my energy right away. But I have found that people will have better luck if they use my dowsing rods than if they use random dowsing rods from somewhere else. And I don't know if it's my energy or what, but I have some really interesting rods. I have very thin ones. I have thick ones. I have some with stones. I have some with holders. I have some that are telescoping.
Nice.
Easy to travel with, easy to get on a plane with if they're telescoping because they look like an ink pen.
Yep.
Things like that. And it's always interesting to see people's reactions when you bring out a pair of dowsing rods. And, I tease everybody, that my family members use them on TV, and they're going, really? I said, yeah, Tim Smith, the moonshiner, used them on TV to tell everybody where to dig a well in Virginia. I said, and it worked. He found water. And my husband, when he saw him on TV using dowsing rods, he looked at me and go, runs in the family.
Nice.
So it's just kind of funny that we should see that. But everybody, we're coming up on our last break. So please, if you have any questions for Alex, please get them in the chat room. And we will be back with Alex very shortly. You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. We'll be waiting for you when you get back.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk only on Paranormal Experience Radio. Broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama. Since 1948, Fate Magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Abnormal Alabama presents Crypticon October 25th and 26th at the Port of the Wharf, Orange Beach. Bigfoot, the paranormal, authors and speakers, vendors, and your chance to experience the Psychomantium. There'll be a costume contest and much, much more. October 25th and 26th at the Port of the Wharf, Orange Beach. Get more info, directions, and tickets available now at abnormalalabama.com. That's abnormalalabama.com.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting. The best in paranormal talk radio.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 45 minutes after the hour.
Welcome back to the Paranormal Pride. I'm your host, Denise Pridemore, and this is our last 15 minutes with Alex Matsuo. And if you see the look on my face, you'd see it's a sad face. This has been a great show. I've really enjoyed having her on. It's been such a long time. Seems like just yesterday, but yet it seems like a long time ago. And so, Alex, coming up, where are there any events that you're involved in, or any place where people can find you?
Yeah, so if anyone's in North Carolina and close to Fayetteville, or is willing to come to Fayetteville, if you don't, I totally understand, because it's Fayetteville. Me and APS, we are doing a 13 nights of ghost hunting at Heritage Square. And in Heritage Square, we have the Sanford House, which was built in 1800. And we have the Nimitz House, which was built in 1804. And then the Oval Ballroom, which was, I believe, built in 1825. All three of these buildings are super haunted. We are partnering with Q98, Rock 103, and a few other radio stations to do this ghost hunt. So for $25, you get a 90-minute ghost tour of 3 buildings. And me and my team will be there to help you out, show you how to use the equipment, and guide you along the way. So my October got really busy.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, and also my book, The Brave Mortal's Guide to Ghost Hunting, will hopefully see a birth date in late October or early November, so just in time for Christmas. So if you have a ghost hunter or someone who wants to get into ghost hunting, that's a perfect gift for them. So that's what's coming up for me in this fall.
Well, please make sure that you share that with us so that I can post it on the page so everybody can see that. Because I think that, there's something to learn even for the seasoned paranormal investigator in some of the Paranormal 101 type books that they may not have even thought of just because of the way that it's written. I have probably 10 or 12 different 101 books, and written all from different perspectives that are all very, very interesting when you compare notes. And yeah, all of them have certain things that are the same, but some of them go down very different avenues on equipment, on philosophies. But like I said, yours, I quote to this day on certain things. So, and I used to take that book with me when I was doing tours at the Sally House.
Oh, nice.
And so what I would do is I would bring all the books from all the local authors or about the local places, within like a 300-mile radius, so that people would say, okay, what else is there to do? I would have all these books, and they'd say something about, I'd like to get into paranormal investigating. I said, well, what do you want to do? And I have a couple books on stuff. And if they'd say, hey, I want to get into investigating people's homes, well, here's this book, Alex Matsuo's book. You might want to check this out before you do that. So, like I said, I have an arsenal that my husband, he used to laugh at me. I had a box of books, the paper that, your ream of paper. Okay. I have those Boise paper boxes, and it would be full of books that I would carry into the Sally house every week.
Nice.
And with just different things in there, just so that I could make my point that, hey, we're not dumb people. It takes more than just standing here telling you stories that you think we might have heard. No, we've actually experienced this, and this is part of our life.
Yep.
And I don't think people realize that paranormal is a way of life for a lot of people. It's just part of my life. It's not my whole life.
Oh yeah, the same here. It's a big part of my life, but it's not my entire life. I mean, if it was, I would go crazy. Like, I'll just be honest.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like I said, it's a part of my life. It's not everything that I do. Maybe someday, but right now, no. So if somebody wanted to find Alex, where would they find you?
You can find me on Facebook. That's probably the best place to find me if you want to kind of get an idea of what's going on in my head all the time. Might not be a good thing, but we'll see. And you can also find me at alexmatsuo.com. You can find me on Association of Paranormal Study. We have a Facebook group and a website. We'll probably be doing a lot of posts on the Facebook page from the Sanford House, where we're doing our month-long event. And yeah, that's probably the best place to find me. I also have a YouTube channel. I do song covers. I'm working on an Adele song right now, so if you want to hear me sing, and that's where you go.
Okay.
And yeah.
And do you still have your radio show?
I do. Well, I do a podcast now, so it's pre-recorded, and I do one called Informal Paranormal, and that is with one of my team members, Jenny, and I have another one called Spirits Over Spirits, which is being worked on, but it's basically talking ghost stories while drinking alcohol, hence the name Spirits Over Spirits.
Okay.
And yeah.
Well, we do our Spirit and Spirits tour. Every vacation we go someplace haunted that makes spirits.
Nice.
It just happens. I'm sorry, but it does. And for the people out there wondering, no, I don't drink this much. I haven't drank in a long time. I just like going to places where spirits are distilled. Mm-hmm. They're easier to find that way.
Yeah.
Hey, look, they make them right there. There they are. I can see them. No,
yep,
I'm kidding. But I do like hanging out around distilleries and stuff. I think that they're neat. I think the history is amazing. And I just don't really drink that much. But I think it's fun. Mm-hmm. So, do you have any more television appearances coming up that you're not allowed to tell us about?
Nope. Nope. I took the year off.
You heard that right? That you're not allowed to tell us about.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Nope. There's nothing down the pipeline on TV right now. So
no NDAs in your recent past.
No, thank God. I almost had a second round this year, but it didn't quite come through, which I was okay with that. I mean, I've never wanted to heavily pursue these opportunities. If they came to me, that's awesome. But I'm not going to spend my energy, looking for the opportunity. If I think something might make a cool story for a show, then maybe I'll send it off to a producer that I know, but it's out of my hands at that point. So I'm not going to, I can't even keep up with my own team's YouTube channels of our data and evidence. So,
oh, believe me, it's not easy. I know. What on your podcast? What kind of things do you guys talk about on your podcast?
Well, we haven't for Informal Paranormal. We have an episode coming up where we had Michelle Hamilton on the show talking about Civil War ghosts. Before that,
I know Michelle.
Yeah, she's awesome. Before that, we had Robin Bellamy on talking about Mothman and genealogy and all that good stuff. Our first episode was actually about investigating people's homes, and that's actually our most popular episode, which is good, because I want people to hear that. And then spirits over spirits, that's really just getting to know the person. It's not really like a formal interview like this, but I ask them like, what scares you? And tell me about something that happened to you. So it's more about them retelling the experience while under the influence of alcohol, which sometimes is hilarious and sometimes it's awkward. But then my awkwardness becomes funny. So,
oh, well, actually, that sounds like it'd be fun. But
yeah,
it's as long as you get to pick what you're drinking, as opposed to somebody going, here, you need to drink this Jaeger.
Oh yeah. You're always. I mean, because I do these over online, so
I know. I was just being
okay
sarcastic. Like, I'm drinking Jaeger, so you have to drink Jaeger. Well, I don't even have it in the house. Okay, no, it ain't gonna happen.
I have to drink the low carb stuff, so because I'm not going to send myself into a diabetic coma for a podcast.
No, it's not worth it.
No,
I'm particular. So, to be honest, I am very particular, and I'll tell you, I'm very particular on stuff. I don't like certain things. I'm a rum drinker and I'm a Moscato drinker. And
ooh, I love Moscato.
Yeah, it's very sugary though.
Yes,
and,
it is.
Very sweet, and so it could be a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to find a way to not be so sweet. So, I mean, in both ways, in the wine and personally.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to be a little bit more non-sweet, but ain't gonna happen, I don't think. So, everyone, I would like to thank you, Alex, so much for being on. This has been excellent visiting with you again, and I've missed talking to you.
Yeah, this was really fun. Thanks for having me back on the show.
Well, I'm going to have to catch back up with your podcasts and stuff now that things are starting to, more than likely it's going to be after October before I can catch up with stuff because, this is that time of year where we're all busy running around checking out what's available. And because for some reason, people don't think about doing haunted tours anytime other than September and October.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And some of the places we want to go to only have them in September and October. And that doesn't seem right. If a place is haunted, it's haunted all year long, not just in September and October.
Yep.
So, so needless to say, that leaves us very little time for the other things we want to do, like listen to other people's podcasts and things like that. So I will make sure that I get out there and check out some of your stuff and see what's going on. Because I know I know you interviewed me. It was probably 3 years ago as well.
Yeah.
But that was a long time. I mean, like I said, it seems like yesterday.
It does.
But still seems like a long time when we get to talking. It's like, oh boy, we've missed so much. So, everyone, next week, my guest is Karen Smurl from the Smurl Family Haunting. Is the Smurl House going to be the next Conjuring movie? I don't know. I don't keep track of the Conjuring movies. I'm not into horror. So we'll find out straight from Karen, because I know her family doesn't really share their story very much. Only one made-for-TV movie and one book actually about the Smurl family haunting. So it will be very interesting to hear her side of her part of the story. I've known her for years, and last time I was supposed to have her on, her dad fell on the ice and broke his hip, and nothing was ever the same after that. So I just got her rescheduled, and it's going to be fun having Karen on. Or actually, it may not be fun. It may be enlightening to find out what it was like for her family to live in a house with a demon.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. If it wasn't for Ed and Lorraine Warren, I don't know how her family would have made it. Oh. So, but if you check out I'm going to send out invites, but if the event's already out there, I've already shared the link to the made for TV movie. They only did, like I said, there's only one movie and it was made for TV, and that was filmed with the approval of Jack and Janet Smurl. So there's also a book called The Haunted by Robert Curran, and it was in conjunction with Jack and Janet and the Warrens. So I said, that's the only official ones that I know of. There may be some more, but right now those are the only official ones I know. So check those out if you want to know more. And so next week at 7:00, we'll be talking to her. What nights does yours come on? Your podcast?
My podcast is pre-recorded, so we try to release about once a month for Informal Paranormal.
Okay.
Spirits over Spirits, I'm a little behind right now.
Okay, so it just, whenever it comes up, you just post a link and say, hey, this is it.
Yep.
Okay, so everybody, you're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. We will see you guys all next week, and tune in to WBHM-DB.com for all your paranormal listening through the week. We have all kinds of shows for you out there. I know you'll find one that's to your liking. Have a great night.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk radio.